Well, hello, this is Dr. Chris Lemmon, and it's February talk. Last January, I started kind of a new pitch for this year, um, and we talked about feeling your energy in your body. Where I originally got into that whole concept was in my college days. I was I had come out of taking a couple of years of judo, and then I went into karate, and I was doing some karate for a while, and I started teaching little kids. And they were on the mat, and little kids are kind of like all over the place. So I had them lay on the floor, and then I'd have them kneel on the floor, have someone push them over gently. We were just kind of practicing falling and rolling to get a feeling of being grounded a little more. And then they could start to get the idea that in martial arts, we're not a question of punching or defending, it's a question of paying attention to the energy. You don't defend a punch after you see it coming, maybe too late. You really set up for everything, right? And so that's what I was trying to get them to learn. I mean, kids are just what they are, but it was really kind of fun and kind of get the idea of them being grounded really made a big difference. And so that's why I found then I started taking classes later on from everything that came down the door, everything that came down the way. It just didn't much matter. I just took various different classes from different people instructing. Um, all kind of the 60s and 70s were a lot of metaphysical concepts kind of coming to practice. I started doing some yoga seminars. I started teaching yoga. I was a part of the Sacramento Hypnotic Society, so we did a lot of workshops. We did a little bit of everything, kind of playing with it, rebirthing, self mind control, everything that came down the pike. I just got in the midst of and played with for a little while, like a lot of people did. It was not a big thing. And just to kind of get a sense of a feel of what's going on in your body. And I recognized it's not about the intellectual piece. That was pretty obvious from college. Um, a lot of those people had some amazing concepts and ideas, but none of them was actually going to be practical or any application for it. And I was looking for application. I really felt like I needed to have something, not just like change the world, that's kind of touche, but allow myself to experience a change. And to me, it was kind of like, yeah, I doubt very much if I'm going to change the world, but I want to be able to experience a change. I want to be able to interact differently. I watch people around me and it's like, wow. Well, I still do today. I watch people around me. I'm going like, wow, where are they coming from? Just landed here or something. It's like, wow. It's very interesting. I'm sure you had the same type of recognition, noticing that in life. So the first thing is to be able to start to feel that energy kind of going through. We did tons of exercise. We did this hand rubbing thing. We could feel them. We would touch other people. We would find their aura or field or whatever. Just you start to notice where the energy starts to come from. That's all. It's just energy awareness. That was just the whole theme at that time was kind of wake up and pay attention, notice where the energy's at. I'm not too sure it got us anywhere from what I see today, but most certainly, it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. And the people I work with and students that I had over the years have developed some great skill sets. Some kind of walked away and scratched their head, but a lot of them have some amazing skills, and so a lot of them are out there teaching now from what they've learned, and they also brought ideas in to the table. So the mainstay starting out was start to feel your energy, start to get the idea, getting grounded. I think uh, Brene Brown just came out with a book called Strong Grounding, or yeah, I think it was Strong Grounding. Uh, but and I actually went and picked the book up. Her books are kind of like going to some type of a seminar. Everything's coming at you from every different angle. So it's a different style. She just keeps throwing things in there. So that's just her style. The book was fine. She's written a lot of books. I read The Gift, I think, was really very good. So this one here, I read maybe, I just got it yesterday. I read maybe 150 pages yesterday, last night. So I'm just kind of getting a feel for it to see if it's actually a benefit. But the first couple chapters most certainly indicate that an idea of kind of getting grounded gave her a better sense of well-being too. So, okay, that's the first thing. February, we're looking at, I'm going to throw this out at a couple of different ways of defining it. We would start out when I started playing with this eons ago, we would say no absolutes, right? No absolutes. Get away from no absolutes. I think that was in some of Warner's classes when Ebhart was doing his craziness and until he got in big trouble. Um, but no absolute doesn't mean that, abandon your church. It doesn't, that's not the idea. The idea of no absolute just means that nothing should be put more important than you. And so if you start to look at that, it's not a question of building an ego so you think you're more important than someone else. It just means that you got to be in the package somewhere. You have to be in that consideration somewhere. So in the beginning, I started teaching no absolutes, like I said, and a lot of people came back and they had a lot of questions on it. So I just went to this idea of 51%. We would talk about being in present time. That's really kind of the same thing, just being aware of my presence now. Can you feel myself now? Can you, whatever. Wait, Sales Mind Control had this little thing where you would touch your fingers together to, get a sensation of whatever. So there were a lot of different people doing different things, and I threw everybody at students. I had usually on an average, I had around 200 people a month come through for classes for the 14 years. So we had a lot of people coming in. Some of them stayed around. Some of them became staff. Some of them went out and started their own thing. All that's fine with me. Um, so the mainstay is to move away from the idea of having a picture or having an experience in life where it doesn't include you. It's like you step out of it. So there are other terms looking at it. We can talk about internal processors, external processors. There's a lot of terminology from science, from psychology, that all describe the same thing. I just try to keep the verbiage simple. When you start to get it, no matter what you call it, you start to feel it, right? So I like to call it 51%. It's just like it gives you a kind of a better picture in my mind. But I'm throwing a lot of different words at you. So if you learn something or done something different, your terminology is not wrong. I'm just trying to get utility in the terminology. So to me, that someone is at 49%, it's always like they're getting left out. They can't, no one seems to hear them. They don't quite get their word through. Uh, they raise their hand and no one calls on them. But these are actual cases I've had where people come back, they call people up and they never get a call back. Their friends call up and make arrangements, get appointments, get invited to things. They call and nothing happens. That that seems very, very odd, but when it recurs with a lot of redundancy, that is not so odd. There's something affecting it. And so we're playing with this. We're playing to get a better handle on your life and what you do with your life and what you get out of life, because we're only here for a little stench. What do you get out of how much juice can you squeeze out of it? So we start to look at, like, you first off have to show up. You have to be present. You don't have to be the center of attention. Matter of fact, there's some disadvantages, as a lot of you know. You just got to show up and be present. When you speak, people hear you. I've done some, I used to go around, I got in a habit when I was in college, writing poetry just for fun. And I started this thing of going and saying my poetry at coffee shops. That was drinking a lot of coffee then. And and so other people were doing it. And the teacher used to say, if you guys are brave, take your poems to a coffee shop. They like free entertainment. So I started writing poetry for a year and a half and going to a coffee shop. And then I would take my guitar and I would play a little arpeggio or just a little bump, 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 bump. And then kind of as an introduction to my poems. And then that caught on. And next thing I know, everybody was around doing that too. And then I thought, nah, okay, I had enough of that. I'll quit. But it was just a question of being able to get that piece of attention. I would watch and people would sit down and they would do their sales pitch or they'd say a poem and they'd say something and they're not getting attention. And I worked for an insurance company for a while, uh, for around 7, 8, 9 months. And, and I was just trying to get a feel for it. I was doing cold canvassing, knocking on doors and saying hello. And I tried to make appointments. I did pretty phenomenal. I kept busy all week with appointments that I made just by cold calls and knocking on doors. That means I could hold someone's attention at the door and pitch someone an idea and come back and see them as a family and start to talk to them. And so we were looking at all kinds of packages of programs I was working with for mostly retirement programs. But but nonetheless, it was just kind of playing with it, getting people's attention. Okay. And you start to feel the shift. When you start to get to that 51%, you can feel your energy flowing into it. You're all of a sudden there. It's like being at a party. There's a bunch of people have a discussion. Everybody's kind of like taking turns. Some people are trying to one up people. Some people are just trying to tune in to the theme that's going on. And it's fun to watch all that. And it's fun to start to speak. And I would personally, I would watch in a group and watch them bounce around. I might put a word or two in, and then I would see like what is sticking, what's holding to the group. And then all of a sudden I'd take a breath and I'd come in and I'd start to tell a story. And I'd bring all those elements together in a story. I'm a big storyteller. That's what I found my strong suit was just to be able to, it doesn't have to be a true story. It, it's kind of nice when it makes some sense. Bits and pieces may be totally correct. Sometimes I leave other people out. Some people, sometimes it's other people's stories. I don't care. It's just, but just something that will bring cohesion into the group. And I just watch that and I tell a story and it brings all those pieces together. And I just pull back and just get quiet. And then I watch the interchange. All of a sudden, I got everybody connected. So when I was teaching, one of the things I would teach my teachers is people come in for a class, first half an hour, forget it. They're not there yet. They're thinking about what they got to do. They're thinking what that there. It takes about a half an hour to get people all of a sudden in tune. And you can actually feel that all comes together in a classroom. It's like all of a sudden we're tuned in. Some people might take 40 minutes. Some people will get there in 15, 20 minutes. Depends. Advanced classes, 20 minutes are there, right? At the most, 20 minutes. But beginning classes, pretty much a half hour. And and during a class, we would try to teach people two concepts. One concept, we'd show them an idea and we work with it for almost the whole class, having them play, doing exercises. People have to feel it, right? And when they get that one concept, then what you can do in the last 15, 20 minutes of class, just before they start to settle out, so maybe 45 minutes before they leave, you toss them another idea and you give them an assignment and tell them to play with it. It's very, very interesting because the validation they got from the first one, they'll actually do the homework with the second one because it's like, well, that was real. I'm going to do this. Now you've got them interconnected. You've got them doing things. So why am I telling you this? Because we don't have a feedback here. I'm just talking to a box, heaven's sakes. So I'm giving you some steps of like if we were in a class, what you would be expecting so that you in turn can say, how can I squeeze more out of this thing that we're doing here in 2026, right? So get your body grounded into the world, play with that a little bit, however that makes. You can push on something, pull on something. Just notice the difference between when it's grounded. When you go to pick something up, you see people kind of take a breath and kind of get themselves, that's them getting grounded. It's like them getting ready to lift that to see how it is. So it's not something foreign to you. You've done this before. I just find that if you attend to it and attend to it and tend to it, we're cheating. We're expanding attention. And at the same time, we're getting you grounded. And at the same time, we're getting you aware of that energy movement that's moving through your body everywhere around you. Right. And that's what we start to play. Now, in February, we're saying 51%. So you start to notice, am I in this group or even at a register? Or at 51%. I walk up, am I getting someone's attention? Are they saying hello to me? Do I have a communication open up? Or are they just ignoring me? Wow, that's kind of interesting. I have a lot of people that tell me I always get ignored. It's like, wow. So we would play with exercises to have them come up to 51%. It's just a number. It just means that you just want to feel that presence so that someone else can validate you feeling present here now, and they look at you and they say hello to you. They get your attention, right? So that's all it takes. Is like they get your attention. You get included. Yes, sometimes if it's a question of directions or needing help, you might be at 54, you might be at 58. You know, if you're up there in the 90s somewhere, you probably should be a politician because they like to play that game. But for the most part, it's not you trying to commandeer. It's you just being present. So no absolutes, be at 51%. And that's I'm looking at my notes. I mean, I don't take very many notes, but this year I'm trying to coordinate my talks with the blogs I've written. And so I'm looking at my notes, so it makes some sense. Before the year's out, I'm sure it'll be a flow, but it's very different. Before I just talk and I write, and it's not on the same day. And most of the time, I've got all 12 blogs written by probably around the end of March. So they're already kind of sitting on the website ready to pop up when the month turns over. But the talks are a different story. I really like to do them just somewhere late the month before that I put them out. Gives things and stories and ideas a chance to kind of flow and come together and support this whole process of what we're doing here as a kind of a mystical, magical group. I mean, group that I don't see, but you can see me. Um, um, the um, okay. And the next thing that I do see on my notes that I want to make sure to get into this is that this year, with every one of my blogs, hopefully, you'll see some questions come up. I have sheets and sheets of questions. Well, they're not sheets now, they're on my computer. I've actually typed them all in. But down through the years, I've picked up questions that like help me go into a different theme or a different idea, and then have more questions come up from asking that. If you can imagine it this way, it's like uh, you're trying to get directions to something, and someone says, "Well, you go over here and you turn left and you turn right and you do this, you do that." So, wait a minute. Let me take some notes here. Let's start from the first one. I go, where do I go? What's the first step? Okay, now I turn left here. I got to turn left. We have a question. How do I get from point A to point B? But we have five different turns. I've got to log them in. There are five distinct actions. So when you ask a question in meditation or to the idea of self, or even with another person, truthfully, um, you really just don't want the answer. You want the navigation. You want to get there. It's like, yeah, it's like, you know, how do I solve my income problem? Oh, I'll get a better job. Well, okay, that's sweet, but like, how the hell do I get a better job? What do I have to do to get a better job? What steps can you offer? You see how more questions give you directions, give you something to work on, something to flow with. Does that start to make sense? So you really need to have those intangibles when you're in meditation and you sit there and you're kind of like, okay, why doesn't anybody like me? And all you're doing is searching in a field that basically says these are 11,275, or maybe only three reasons why people don't like you. And you're not going to find an answer in there. That's what's in that field. That's the way this thing does. You're directing it to, it's kind of like looking up files on your computer. It's like you're in a certain side of files. It's like that's not to get you there. So you have to find a better question. So you're saying I, I seem to have problem relating to people. So I need a better question to ask. What would be my first step? What do I need to do? Give me a better question to ask so I can start to get somewhere. So this thing can sort out a different file, a different file drawer, a different section that has those experiences stored in. The brain has this tendency to store stuff we utilize and has the most energy in it. Stuff we haven't utilized since we were 5 years old pretty much is left back there. And it doesn't mean you can't get to it. It just simply means that you have to ask the right question. You have to have the right markers, the right stimulus to be able to go in and search for that. So questions are the best way to do that, right? The- Most of the time, when I was working with someone doing some therapy, right? So basically, I've got some education in psychology. I never got a clinical license. I used it for a multitude of different things, but I would have people that would come in and apply for jobs, and they would be asking for what would be expecting them, what would be expecting them as an employee, or as a partner in it, or as an organization, what would be expected. They're asking really good questions, and I would always tell them, "You've asked really good questions. I've answered them. More questions will come up. So when you get home this week, I want you to write them down. We need to meet again next week." And bring up the questions that have come up so we can confirm what's expected of you, what we're going to be doing, and where the organization's goals are. All those things are really important. You got an overview of them, and that'll get shuffled, but write more questions and come back. And that really helped me then when I was working for companies and startups, hiring people and training people to do different jobs, to be able to find out exactly and specifically what information they needed, what skill sets they really had, or what skill sets they had just some light awareness of, or where they really had skill in it. And so this is it's been an amazing thing for me to get people to ask better questions so they could come back to me with better questions and we could get to something that's really beneficial for them. So this class this year is just simply, it's just an open arena. Most certainly you're welcome to email me, chris@wizardscatch.com. I'd be glad to answer your emails. If you have any epiphanies or anything that's inspiring or any stories you want to share with me, go ahead. I love stories. And how that all come together for you. I'm sure we'll take and be telling a lot of stories this year, especially after the first 4 or 5 months when we kind of get some tools on your tool belt so you can play with them. Uh, it's not an overnight thing. To really be able to start out in playing with energy and getting some skill set with it takes about 2 years to get to where you have the discipline in it to say, wow, I really noticed that, right? Some of you guys have already got a lot of skill. It's not going to take you as long. I have people that contact me and they have a problem in life. They can't keep a job. They can't keep a relationship. And we say, well, let's solve that problem by solving like, why do you cancel these things? Let's put you at 51%. So at 51%, who's in charge? You are barely. Okay, cool. Barely is good. So that means you can make decisions about what you're doing. So let's take a look and see why things fail, go into them a little deeper, and find out what happened. Where did you go to 49 or 47 or 32%? Why did you get lost in the whole process? Why did you get devalued? And let's find out where that goes. Finding an answer for that just takes a little bit of time, but then changing the matrix of how you operate takes a little more. And it's not always successful immediately. Sometimes you'll come on up on top and then you'll fall behind a little bit and you'll get back on top. And it's kind of like it takes practice, 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 practice. So I don't want anybody getting set up to like, oh, I'm going to figure this all out. Yeah, we're going to figure it all out, but it's application that takes time. Figuring it out is pretty easy. Application is a challenge. So I promise to keep these short, especially in the beginning. We'll have lots more stories, but I'm trying to hold back a little bit so we can, you know, I throw a lot of stories in. A lot of people kind of get people. I've got a half-hour talk, and they find that they have to listen to it 3 times to get the whole thing in. It's like overwhelming. I never thought of myself as overwhelming about anything, but anyway, that's all fine and good. So I'm trying to keep them short in the beginning. Later on this year, while we'll get into more story indexing, stories really help you visualize an application for what you're learning. Okay, so thank you very much. This is February. It's Valentine's. So the so hopefully you find someone that you can have a Valentine moment with. And so anyway, thank you very much for your time, and I will be looking forward to chatting with April and throw out some more ideas. Thank you very much.